everybody. Hey everybody. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. I haven't been on here for a while. I actually took a few days off. So that's why you guys haven't seen me post or seen me doing anything. I really just took some time just to enjoy myself and enjoy my family, right? Because I needed a break. So I took a break and I'm just coming back tonight from my break. But today we're going to have a conversation with two other coaches. One is a transformational life coach. Her name is Pettiford. And the other one, she is a Christian life coach. And her name is Tiffany Lofis. And we're going to talk about tonight, right? That's going to be our topic for tonight. And the ladies are on their way to come on. Hi.
How you doing, Keyaria?
How are you?
I am fantastic. Excited to Thriving Thursday.
Yes, we back. I was just telling everyone that, I took a break for a while. I needed a few days off, right?
Yes.
To spend some time with my family, right?
Yes.
And just relax. And that's called self-care and self-love, ladies.
Yes.
So we have Coach TaShemia here on the left. She is a transformational life coach. And then we have Coach Tiffany on the right. And Coach Tiffany is a Christian life coach. So we're going to start this topic by speaking to Coach TaShemia first about people pleasing. What is people pleasing and how has it played a role in your life?
It is like people pleasing is that nagging uncle that come that don't nobody really talk to. For me, it is the ability to push your own emotional needs and wants to the side, just to make sure that other people are happy. And it's an epidemic, really, because a lot of people, especially women that's in careers and families, whatever dynamic, we find ourselves wanting to make everybody around us happy. And in that process, you stop doing exactly what makes you happy. As you said, self-care, right? You stop caring about what you want. You stop caring about your emotional needs and desires just to make sure that everybody around you is okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, right? I used to be a huge people pleaser, right? But we're gonna get into that.
Oh.
But Tiffany, can you tell us what your thoughts are about people pleasing?
I agree. People pleasing is setting aside, yourself, setting aside your emotions, and causing more emotional and mental damage to yourself for the sake of someone else. Putting someone else before you, and that doesn't mean that we don't, help others or that we don't make sacrifices for others. But there is a healthy way to do it,
Correct.
and a very unhealthy way to do it. So
yes.
Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, it has to be a balance, right?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes, and I'm just going to talk about in business, right? In business, everybody want from you, right? But you have to have a balance where you're able to say, because we solopreneurs, right?
Right.
Where you have to say no, unfortunately, right?
Yes.
I can't do that today. Or no, unfortunately, I can't be a part of that right now, right?
Absolutely.
And you just have to set those boundaries, right? And even like the last 3 days, I said, unfortunately, I'm taking these 3 days off.
Or what? Or even when you have to say, no, I can't lower my price.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I can't lower my price just to please you. It is what it is,
Yeah.
There are so many different, especially in business, when you want to please people, you want people to give you a good review. Yes. You want people to, and you start to adjust things that don't really need to be adjusted, but it's out of fear. But we'll talk about that later. Go ahead.
Look, you're like, let me put a point on it's out of fear. You know what?
Yeah, because there's a difference, right? Coach Tiffany, there's a difference between being kind and being direct. And sometimes as a woman in business, you have to be direct, right? So you can take control of your business, right?
Absolutely.
And that is okay.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. I think those are words that we need to hear more often, is it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, there are some things that aren't okay, and we know, you know, and from a Christian standpoint, the Holy Spirit will check you, you know, and be able to humble yourself and say, you know what, I was wrong in that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we just don't, we're always second guessing ourselves when it comes to other people, especially women of color, because Black women have a reputation for being harsh
Yes.
and for being, you know, having an attitude
Yeah.
and all of these things. And it's like, so we want to overcome that stereotype. So we'll be extra nice, or we'll be, and we'll fall into people pleasing out of fear. I fear what other people will perceive of me. So I'm going to act this way so that they don't see me that way. You know, go ahead.
In the same position, business-wise, working at work, whereas, you know, a coworker can take on a project. Yeah. And it's like, oh, Shima, I need you to help me. And I'm the only Black person in my department, you know, and I don't want to be the mean person that be like, no, you can very well do that yourself.
Right.
But I also don't want to do it. And
yeah.
so you find yourself stuck, right? You're stuck going, okay, how do I say no that doesn't make it seem like I'm being bitchy? Right. Or how do I say no where it's respected and understood? Hey, so now you got to say, well, you know what? I'll help you. I'll take these 2-3 pages because I don't want to seem like I'm not a team player. Right. And I'm not willing to help out. Right. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm putting more work on top of myself, whether I got a deadline or not. Yep. And I'm doing something for someone else that's going to help them to make them look better. But it won't in any way, shape, or form make me feel better because now I'm stuck where I'm frustrated.
Because now you're going through mental and emotional distress behind it.
And sacrificing stressed yourself out even more. And you take that stress where? Home. Yep. And it spills over in everything that you do in every relationship that you have. It's stress from one place can make you be totally not yourself. And what people pleasing does is it say, I am a person who like purple, but since everybody like yellow, I guess I can like yellow too.
Right.
It's not it's not that big of an issue. Anytime you railroad yourself for anybody and it's not saying, hey, instead of me not going to buy this Gucci purse this month, well, you know, going to Target for me this month, I'm going to take that and, you know, someone that I know really cares and really in need, I don't mind helping. I can, you know, take that and push that to the side. But if I'm doing this consistently where I'm not taking care of me and I'm taking care of your needs, then it is a problem.
Yes. 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 And I feel like, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, like, I was in a relationship one time, and one of the things that I love to do is work out. And in this relationship, he would complain about my hour of my day to work out to talk to him. And I'm like, you know, this is my time for me, you know? If you like you can't work out. Yeah, you can't work out for me, right? So I had to put up those boundaries around my time and say, hey, I'll come back later, you know, and talk to you. But right now is my time, and that's okay. And a lot of women are afraid to put up boundaries in relationship because the fear of abandonment or the fear of the man leaving the relationship because she decided, right? That she her to get her body healthy, right? Or whatever the case.
Whatever it is,
Yeah, or fear of rejection. So people pleasing, it goes really deep, even for simple things like taking time to work out. That's important to me, you know?
Mm-hmm. Anytime you put your needs above another person, people tend to always try to make you feel bad about it. And when you say, you know, I've been married, you know, everyone know this is my second marriage, but I remember, you know, having to not do things that I wanted to do because my partner is like, oh, well, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go over there. I don't want to wear this. You know, I don't want to do this, and that. And it was like, well, okay, let's do what you want. Like, to this day, I hate the movies. Oh, my gosh. I can watch a movie at home. Don't take me to no movies as a date. I'm going to flip my lid because, you know, you find yourself doing so much of something for someone else that tend to, you know, you despise it, you hate it. I don't like going to the movies now. You know, it has to be few and far in between. And don't get me wrong, I love taking my kids. I'll take them to the movies any day long. But you tell me, well, hey, I was thinking maybe we go to dinner and a movie. Is it a live show? Because if there's people on the screen, I'm not going.
Well, and we have to, there's a difference between compromise and making concessions in your marriage,
Yes.
and doing things just because, you don't want to argue with the person that you're with. That's a completely different situation. Like you said, you'll go, it just got to be few and far in between,
Yes.
And realistically, like what you were just saying earlier, about not being able to work out and things like that, those are red flags. And we ignore them in just about every relationship.
Bag on the play.
Yeah, like seriously. Because if I can't take an hour out of my time to take care of me, then that means you don't care about me taking care of me. So that how are you going to care about me? But again, like you said, it's fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of, feeling unvalued, underloved, your needs not being met, those things. And we'll ignore them. We will sacrifice. And what you were saying earlier, Coach Shima, was, what'd you say? You said something about, I can't remember. Anyway, I just wanted to say, I can't, because when you said it, I was like, oh, that's so good. And it made me think about relationships and how we are in them, where we will sacrifice ourselves and not realize that that's what it was. We won't realize that the demand that the other person is putting on us is actually based on their own unhealed trauma.
Yes. Yes.
You know what? That we don't even recognize it. We don't recognize that, in the case of, I need you to take out time for me and not, go to the gym. It was really like, I need attention right now because I feel rejected in this. And it probably came from
having a conversation like, hey, when you take this time, I feel rejected. And the reason why I feel rejected, oh Lord, y'all, my phone doing its own thing. I'm still here and I'm still gonna talk. And the reason why I feel rejected is because of things that I've gone through growing up, relationship-wise, trauma-wise, childhood-wise. So instead of saying, hey, Keyaria, I know you need this time for you, but let's discuss why I feel the way I feel, and us having an adult conversation. And it doesn't involve you not doing what makes you happy. You see what I'm saying? We don't have those. We have demands from our families.
Right.
Even to be at family outings, to perform, to give them what they want. If you got a family member who always expects you to take them grocery shopping every freaking week, and it's 1 week that you can't do it and they lose it, that should let you know. You know what I'm saying? It's not about 100% about you helping them and them being understanding and even considerate and appreciative. They expect you to do this no matter what you got going on in your life. And sometimes we will say, okay, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'm just going to reschedule what I got going on. How many times have we done? I'm just going to reschedule what I got going on, and I'll take care of that for you.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry.
Exactly.
Just so somebody won't be mad.
Yep. Oh. And then we're the ones who are sitting there ruminating on the negative thoughts that come now.
Oh, I like that word. Say that, ruminating.
Ruminating, yes. It's one of my words. You'll find it's going to be in my book, and it's on the blog I wrote today.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
my question. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is, how do you get rid of the guilt? Right? Because a lot of women, Coach Tiffany, Coach TaShemia, they deal with the guilt of saying no, right? And not being able to help the person who needs help at that time, right? So how do you get rid of that guilt?
I'm gonna let Coach TaShemia go first. Go ahead.
Cry out to the Lord in the darkness of your days. I'll say this: the first time I had to tell my mother no, I cried, and I cried like a baby. I really didn't want to do something that she asked me to do. I knew that she could do it herself, or somebody else could do it. I remember I was really, really tired, and I knew in my heart I needed to say no, right? Mm-hmm. I needed. And at that moment, like, the revelation came to me, like, you need to set boundaries. You're run over because you don't set boundaries. Right. And so what I had to do was sit and decipher what was a healthy boundary and what was an unhealthy boundary and what I could do. I didn't say, no, I don't want to do it. I didn't say it with an attitude. I just literally said to her, you know what, Ma, it is something that I can't do. I'm not going to be able to do. And like, I braced myself. Right. Like, ooh. And she said, okay.
And you know, sometimes that okay is, there's a difference between okay and okay.
Yeah.
Like,
And she was like, baby, if you couldn't do it, that's all you had to do was tell me. Then out came everything. You asked me to do this, and that, and I'll be so overworked and I'll be stressed and I don't know what to do.
wow.
And she was like, all you have to do is tell me no. I'm okay with you telling me no. It's the way you may present it. Or if you're just saying no to be mean, you know, it's people that just say no for the hell of saying no.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
She's like, I can understand you said, but she was one of the big, that when I can tell my mama no, baby, the world is my oyster. Everybody get these no's. The kids, everybody.
So I would say the best way for me to overcome the guilt is my identity, is knowing who I am, knowing that it's not malicious, knowing that it's not, you know, it's like, regardless of what the other person feels about what's behind my no, I know what's behind my no.
Yeah.
You know, and so I can't feel guilty about knowing that I didn't say it to be evil. You know, I can't feel guilty for not giving you an explanation behind my no, because I don't owe you one.
Yes.
You know, because no is no. I don't have to say no because I have this, that, and the other. No, I don't owe you any explanation, because my life is my life.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I can be the sweetest person in the world. And I also know what it feels like to get overwhelmed and shut down and isolate and binge watch TV because I can't process my thoughts, you know, and I don't have to apologize or feel guilty about not letting you take me there.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So because I know who I am, I know that what is behind my no is not malicious or evil or any ill intent behind it. I'm not going to feel guilty. And I have the Holy Spirit. He'll tell me, like, no, Tiffany, you know that was not right.
Yeah.
You know? And if that's the case, I'm like, you know what? I thought about it. I actually do have some time to take out, you know?
Yeah.
But if I say no, it's no. And there's a reason behind it, but I really don't owe you the explanation for it. So
I love that.
That's me. Look, I am a Christian, but that doesn't mean I'm a doormat.
I love
you know
Lord,
what I mean?
but I ain't your man.
Exactly. I will open up my door to so many people, but you will not walk all over me. I have come too far and become too healed to let that happen.
Say that again. You what?
I have come too far and become too healed to let that happen.
We need to get some trademarking up in this conversation, baby.
And I think that one of the biggest things is kind of like what both of you said, is people are afraid of other people's responses to their no, right? Because people will leave you, people will stop talking to you, and people will abandon you. And we will feel like we are connected, we are part of a community, right? And then you begin to feel isolated, right? Because people have rejected you because you created boundaries around yourself. So how do they get over that fear of that response, right? Of no.
I'll take this one first. One, you want to deal with the fear in the first place, because fear is based on a lie. You have to deal with the lie behind the fear in the first place. Because for me personally, I was a people pleaser for so long because I dealt with unhealed rejection issues and unhealed abandonment issues. Until I realized, one, those who leave have their own unhealed trauma issues, and they're not my responsibility.
Come on.
You know, it'll hurt, but I'll heal.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Because if you leave, you weren't meant to be here in the first place. So, or you were, and you shut the door.
Yeah.
Look, I can't run after people trying to keep doors open that they want to shut.
Come on.
That's just not my life. I have 8 kids, you know, and a husband and a household to take care of. I got other stuff to focus on. I have kingdom work to do, and either you're with me or you're not, you know? And so getting over the fear itself is literally overcoming fear itself.
Yeah.
You know, confront the worst case scenario. What is the worst case scenario that can happen? Okay, if worst case is that they leave, then how does that affect or change or shift your world if that happens?
Yeah.
You know, and if the reality is that in a couple of weeks you're still going to be you, then guess what, baby? Just work through that couple of weeks. Go to therapy if you have to. You'll be okay.
Come on now. Value and confidence coach.
Yes. Get you a transitional coach that'll help you get through the transition of losing that friendship. You know,
Yes.
you really have to confront the fear. That's one of the reasons behind people pleasing, is to avoid the repercussions, or to avoid the response, you know. But when you confront the fear, when you confront the worst case scenario, and usually the anxiety that's been built up over saying no, it's based on something that isn't likely even to happen. You know, like what Coach TaShemia just said. Her mom was finally like, you could have just told me no. Just think of all of the time she said yes and had anxiety behind saying yes, because she really didn't want to do it. And then to find out that the worst case scenario that was built up in her head, or in her mind, or in her heart, was invalid, because mom was like, you could have just told me no.
Could have said no from the beginning.
But that's how it is with most relationships. We get anxious because of what we think could happen, and then the worst case never even happens. You know, just say no. Don't. And real quick, let me just add this, because I wanted to say it earlier. Make sure that your no is a healed no. We have to make sure, because there is a difference between a boundary and a barrier. Okay, there are some of us who have been hurt so much for so long that we say no from a place of wanting to be isolated, from a place of wanting to shut down, from a place of, you know, I'm in my cave, so no, I can't do it. When really you need to say yes so you can come up out the cave, you know, so you can start interacting with people again. So check your heart, check yourself, make sure that your boundary that you're using to say no is not actually a wall that's built up, that's causing a barrier, keeping you from reaching other people. Anyway, go on ahead, Coach.
Girl, look, I just wanted to add, started shouting and running through this office down here. Look,
I just wanted to add one little thing, is that you can't please everybody.
Yes.
You can't please everybody. So you're gonna have to tell some people no. And that's okay.
Yeah,
I just need to add that you can't please everybody.
And you know, and I think it comes from, if anybody remember their people pleasing desire, it actually comes from when you were little, when you were a kid, and not wanting to, you know, get in trouble, or wanting to feel like if you know, somebody asked me to help with this or help with that, yes, I help with it as a kid. And you remember how good that feeling felt, right? So when you helped out, or when someone asked you to do something, you did it for them and you got the accolades. But as you got older and you had to deal with the consequences of mistakes, the consequences of messing up, now when you at a place where a fear, if I say no, what will happen? I remember being a kid and being picked on. You know what I'm saying? And because I'm 5 feet tall at 39. You can imagine how tall I was at like 8.
Yeah.
I might have been as tall as a 5-year-old, I swear. But I remember, you know, even in my friend circle, even in my family circle, not wanting to say no to certain people, so they would play with us. You know, they would play with me. They would let me use their toys because their toys was the best, might have been the better toys, you know, or wanted to be included. I didn't want it to be excluded. And all those behaviors, like you said, you take that with you. You know what the feeling of exclusion is. You know, you know you learn what it's like to be left out. And if you're not a person who know who they are, I am who I am, then you do tend to want to please. You don't have boundaries. You tend to want to do everything for everybody because, you know, you don't want to be left out. Like I remember speaking to someone the other day and she was like, I try to support everybody and go to everybody events. And I was like, sweetie, you can't.
No.
You can't. There's no
you
way
will run
you
yourself
are
ragged.
one person. It's only 24 hours a day. Yeah, but see, what I do is I said, oh, you spread yourself thin. So what you do is you in one day may attend 4 events. But what do you do for you? What are you doing for your home? What are you doing for your family? You know what I'm saying? You're running yourself ragged.
Yes.
Spreading yourself thin. And the older you get, the more time goes on, the less time you have for your care. You will see things break down. You'll start to see your health, your skin, you know what I'm saying? Your body, the way you feel. And it comes to a precipice where you go, why?
Right.
Why am I like this? What is going on? And most women never stop to say, if I just learn to say no.
Right.
You know, and not say it from like a bad place. Like you said, I'm not saying no from a fear standpoint of nobody's gonna be my friend.
Exactly.
You know, you're not gonna love me, or from boundaries. I don't want to be bothered with the world, so I'm gonna shut everybody out. I'm saying no because this does not fit my life right now. And I don't even want to know if I love to help you, but I just don't want to do it. You know, you know, you like, I would love to help you. That's Southern hospitality. I'm from Chicago. I ain't got it. So I don't want to.
I've picked it up down here in Oklahoma. I haven't picked it up, but it
so
still
you ain't
comes
picked
with
up that Southern hospitality.
I got a little bit of it, but not too much. Because listen, there's a difference between hospitality and just I'm not the one. I'm not the one that's just going to tell you I would love to help you, because I probably don't. I would rather be chilling with my husband. So guess what? No, that's the answer.
It might know it's sufficient.
A lot of it comes from childhood, right?
Yeah.
So many of us grew up in homes where some of us, we were parentified, right? Where we became the parent, so we became the pleaser, right? We wanted to please the parent, please the brothers and sisters, just please everybody in the family, right? So just going back into childhood, right, and just healing that young girl who was put in a position that she should have never been put in a position to do. She should have never been. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so that is the enabler as a child. That's the enabler. It's a dysfunctional role, and it's the enabler or the caretaker role. For me, I was a scapegoat as a child. So being the scapegoat, I dealt a lot with rejection and having things blamed on me, and you know, no one really having the expectations that I would do anything with my life or do anything good, you know. And so I spent my life trying to prove them wrong, you know. And so one of the reasons that the people pleasing came out was because I had to prove to other people that I was worthy or that I was valid, or, you know, and so constantly seeking validation, constantly seeking someone to make me feel like, you know, I was worthy, like I said, or that I had value. So I would say yes, or I would do what needed to be done in order to ingratiate myself with people. Not knowing or realizing how toxic that was, you know. And then we have people who grew up who were invisible, you know, or they were the ones who were overlooked. And so they do the same thing, you know. They do it so that they can be seen, because they grew up invisible. There are so many different dysfunctional child roles. I talk about it in my book that I'm writing now. Y'all follow me so you can know when it's released.
Tell us about the book, Tiff. Coach Tiffany.
Yes. Well, the book is called Your Suffering Is Over, and it uses it uses the story of the woman with the issue of blood, and it goes through her process of healing. And so it breaks it down where you confront the pain, you acknowledge, because you have to acknowledge and confront the pain. You will not stop being a people pleaser until you heal. Period. There's no such thing as being unhealed and broken and still not being a people pleaser. It just doesn't happen. You're either going to continue to be a people pleaser, or you're going to do what you said earlier. You're going to shut the world out, you know. Both of those are trauma responses. So the book deals with the pain. It deals with the process, going through the process, and making sure that you have the right people to take you through the process. Because the woman with the issue of blood kept going to different physicians, and the Bible says that they made her worse. So if you're going to people for help, you got to make sure it's the right people, because the people you're seeking may be making you worse. You know, I'm sorry, but I don't believe that there's a such thing as being in therapy for 10 years for the same subject. Sorry, look, you can be in therapy for 10 years to deal with current things. Okay. But your childhood trauma should have already been dealt with by now, boo. Like, I'm just saying, at some point we have to, you know, be intentional about our process. And that's the only way that you're actually going, because childhood trauma, yes, it is something that happened. It is something we all need to work through if you have been through it. For me, my people pleasing didn't just stem from being a scapegoat. It also stemmed from being sexually assaulted as a child. You know, because the answer always had to be yes, or there would be consequences, you know. So it was, so that automatically turns something on in your brain that you always have to say yes, because you are afraid of the response or afraid of the consequences, you know? So I had to go through a healing process that was able, or that made me able to tell myself that whatever the consequences are, you can face it.
Yes.
You know, you don't have to walk in fear anymore. And so, so the book deals with that. It deals with the press. It deals with pressing through to get the healing that you need, the healing that you deserve. And it deals with the promise, because at the end of that, and it's the foundational scripture for my ministry, for everything that I do. Jesus said, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Your suffering is over." And so, for me,
girl, I got chills.
Yeah, I do too. I say it all the time, and I get chills every time, because it's a promise. He said, "Your faith made you well. Go in peace. Your suffering is over." And there's something so peaceful about not having to please people all the time, you know, and about being free to walk in healing and walk in healthy relationships, and being able to accept when an unhealthy relationship has fallen away, because you are no longer a people pleaser. So anyway, that was
that's one of my favorite stories. I got a lot of Bible stories, right? But that's one of my favorite, because it is the woman that is in the key moment of this. But it's so many directions that story go in.
Yes.
It's so, I've heard it teach from so many directions. And from the direction which you speak of is a direction that I never heard of. You know what I'm saying? It is, that story is one of the most, for me as a woman. She was like ridiculed. She was, you know, rumored about. They talked about her so bad, and all she wanted was to be healed.
She is the ultimate, I would say, example concerning what we're talking about right now.
Yes.
Because I actually wrote, it's in the first chapter of the book, that culturally, back then, she was not allowed to be around the people.
No.
Because culturally at that time, when you had your flow, you were unclean.
Yes.
So you were considered ceremonially unclean.
Yes.
You could not attend any functions. You could not make any sacrifices.
No.
You could not do anything. So she
couldn't be around people.
Exactly. And she was basically ostracized from society.
Yes.
So that's for 12 years. Now, mind you, after you come off your cycle back then, you still had to wait 7 days before you're considered clean.
Yes.
Her 7 days never came for 12 years, you know? And so realistically, she could have stayed in that place of people pleasing and saying, you know what, I just won't show up. Yeah. Even though I hear Jesus is here, I won't show up so I can please the other people and don't have to make them feel uncomfortable.
And make them angry with me.
Exactly. I don't want to make them angry. I don't want to make them look at me any type of way. What if they want to, you know, say stuff, do stuff? But the part that you can see where she breaks the people pleasing is when she presses through the crowd. She's like, look, I don't have time to worry about what y'all think right now. I came to get what I came to get, and I'm going to be healed before I leave this place. Let me touch the hem of his garment and let me be healed.
And she didn't want a lot. She didn't come forward. Girl, y'all gonna she didn't come forward for a lot. When people sit here and tell anybody, a woman, all I want is to go work. All I want is a car. All I want is to start my own business and support in doing it. When someone tell you, no, you can't do that. You know, not you. You got too many issues. Not you. You came from too much. Not you. Too much has happened to you. You've been abused. You've been sexually abused. You've been ridiculed.
Yep. And all of those, and all of those thoughts would keep you.
I ain't got to stand in front of him and tell him my name. I don't need to tell him my story. I don't even need to declare nothing. I'll crawl on this gown, because if I touch the hem, just this much, I know I'm going to be healed.
Yes.
All I need, when people, you can say no, because all you need to know is who you are a little bit, just a little. When people realize you know who you are a little bit, they get mad. They get mad. When they realize that you know that all it takes is a little, they're pissed. You would never amount to nothing. You would never be nothing. No man will want you. Nobody would treat you right. No man would not put his hands on you.
Your business won't be successful. You
I
know
was told no man would be with me and not put his hands on me.
wow.
You know, this man I'm with ain't put his hands on me since we've been together, except to give me high fives. Do you hear me?
Right, right.
And little
Amen.
slaps on the butt every now and then. That's about it. But you can't tell me what I am healed and released from.
Right.
And then tell me what I don't deserve. They made that woman feel dirty for something that she was given because God bestowed upon women. But I'm filthy and I'm too dirty to be blessed and healed.
Yeah.
Everyone that came right, so she didn't deserve it. You don't deserve nothing more than what you have, so stay in your place.
Right. How dare you tell me no? Who do you think you are? You know, how dare you set up a boundary? No. How dare you set up a boundary? How dare you try to move forward in something without me? You know, because how far do you think you're going to get without my support, without my help, without me? You know, all of these things are lies. And again, I'm going to use the word ruminating, but that's when those lies come in, we just start ruminating on them. You know, in the blog post that I had wrote today on it's on my website and it's called Why Are You Triggered? I go into an example of what it looks like. My love language is acts of service. Okay. So I was talking about how easily I could get triggered if I asked my husband to do me a favor and he said no.
Yes.
Okay. I wouldn't allow him to set boundaries. I wouldn't allow him to say no. And I had to realize, like, okay, why are you triggered? And so I was triggered because his no made me feel unloved because that was my love language. And so then now the thoughts I'm ruminating on is, okay, well, he doesn't love you and you don't deserve to be loved and you're not worthy of love. And maybe you need to just stop being lazy and get up and do it yourself. And now does God even love you? The enemy loves to play with our thoughts. So of course, those aren't my thoughts anymore because I know my husband.
Wait, our husbands are supposed to tell us no. I ain't get that. I'm joking.
Listen, because look, there are sometimes.
Write that down.
Right. Put my paper down. Not supposed to tell us no. Tiffany, do not put that message out there.
No, you know what? The reality is that our husbands are allowed to tell us no.
Yes.
And people are allowed to tell us no, and we can't expect to. We can't expect to set our own boundaries and be able to say no without being able to accept a no from someone else.
Come on now.
You know, because in the end, it reveals how unhealed you still are. Why, like my blog post said, why are you triggered? I have to ask myself if I am triggered, because just because you're healed doesn't mean you don't get triggered.
Come on.
So I have to ask myself if I am triggered, why? Like, why is your 5-year-old triggering you right now? You know, and I had to realize that because I have healed from childhood trauma, but that doesn't prevent triggers from current events, you know, or it doesn't prevent, you know, something being triggered from a layer that I haven't touched yet from childhood.
Yeah.
You know, so I really have to take out the time to think like, okay, Tiffany, why are you triggered by this? Yeah. And we want to say no all day. We want to set boundaries all day. But if we hear no and we're triggered, we need to also take a deep dive there and be like, okay, but why am I triggered?
Yes. And
why did this
no? You know, when I get upset about something, I do step back and be like, okay, what about this makes me angry? You know what I'm saying? Why am I uncomfortable? What is it really just the moment that makes me uncomfortable? Or is it something way more, you know, deeper within me that I need to recognize that makes this moment uncomfortable for me? Because you're right. Like, I always tell people, just like a cologne or a perfume could trigger a good moment, right? Gardenias reminds me of my grandparents. But but just like it could trigger a good moment, something bad, a word could take you back to when you were a child. It could take you back to a bad moment. It could take you back to, it could draw you right back in its flashbacks. You know, what's that, the song they got out and everybody like, ooh, yeah, it don't be those good ooh moments. It'd be like, oh no, you can't do that. Don't lean on me. I had a moment. I remember something else. You know what I'm saying? Don't pressure me to say yes, because it triggers something else in me.
Exactly.
You know, from when that I experienced, that was a traumatic experience. Like you said, even being, you know, molested as a child, forcing a person to say yes, it could trigger that moment having to say yes, that, like you said, and you didn't want to. You know, someone, and so we force, like, I always tell my husband, I don't like hearing no. Nobody likes hearing no. But when you stand on your no, I respect your no. There's
Right.
nothing I can do about it. He rarely ever says no, but when he says no, I have to respect his no. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Because I respect who he is as a person.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
and I know if he's saying no, oh, he's serious. He actually said
Well,
no. You know,
And I
that's
want to just say that one of the things, I'm sorry, ladies.
no, you don't have to apologize, girl. Listen, we're all three talking.
But one of the things that I wanted to say was you need to do what makes you happy, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of us are pleasing everybody else, and then we forget about ourselves, right? We
Yes.
forget about that self-love, and we forget about doing the things that make us happy in our lives. So
Then you're just broke, busted, and disgusted somewhere in a corner because you couldn't say no. Go
right,
ahead.
right, and it leaves you stressed,
Yes.
depressed, anxiety,
Yes.
worried, overwhelmed,
Yes.
losing hair, gaining weight. It's so many heart disease, so much that happens in the body,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So much that happens in the body from just that stress. So
Yeah.
don't forget to do things that make you happy. Like
Saying
I've been working so hard for the past year.
Yes.
Longer. But I made sure this weekend I went, I visit my cousin, I visit one of my friends, I ate good food, I had I had a glass of wine.
Right.
You know, and it really made me feel good
Yes.
to do something that like genuinely made me happy, like spending
Yes.
time with family. So I just want
I want to qualify that though, because you know,
yeah.
y'all know me, so I'm going to touch on this side of it. Make sure that what you're doing is healed.
Yes.
Okay, because there are things that people do that are unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And it'll make you feel like it's okay because of the serotonin boost.
Come on.
You know, you get that reward boost in your brain and you're like, oh, this is good, you know.
Yeah.
But like what you just said, all the examples that you just gave were absolutely like healthy ways to go take care of yourself, you know. But I know people, and myself, I've been guilty of it myself, you know, even recently when I had this bout with being down for a few days, where you escape into things like, you know, it's so popular now to binge watch shows on, you know, Netflix, and people don't understand the mental health aspect behind it. There is a, so I'm just going to give an example. Let's say a family member calls. Let's say my mother-in-law calls and she needs us to do some things I really just don't feel like doing. I've had a long week with the kids and trying to do stuff for the business, both businesses. And I just want to take a break. But because she's still not completely healed, has some ways. I won't, you know, there's some manipulation, you know, some guilt tripping. Okay. Now, there are certain times, especially because of the love there, that I might say, okay, let's just do it. Or if it's not for me, my husband, she might want my husband to come out and do something, but I might want my husband to stay home while we hang out, you know? And so I'm just using this as an example because something like this has happened before. So now I'm angry. I'm very upset because this situation has happened. My husband has left. He's spent the whole day gone helping do something, you know, after he's been at work all week and I have barely seen him. So I'm sitting here and I'm just like, okay, I'm angry. And the way I'm going to cope with my anger is to turn on Netflix. Okay.
What you watch?
So I'll go. Yeah, so I've watched everything anyway. But now I'm turning on Netflix and 1 or 2 or 3 episodes, which that relatively that's not a lot of time. Okay. But 1 or 2 or 3 episodes has now turned into all 4 or 5 seasons in a matter of a week, you know? So instead of processing the unhealthy or negative thoughts that I was having, I went to escape. I went to escape into another place, into this place of entertainment or fantasy, so that I don't have to have the conversation with my mother-in-law or with my husband about how that made me feel. You know what I mean?
Yes, avoid.
And so there are things that we'll do. So we'll convince ourselves that spending all that time binging Netflix makes us happy, but really what it's doing is it's giving you an escape.
Yes.
And instead of actually processing your unhealthy emotions or processing your and I won't say unhealthy emotions. I'll say your negative thoughts.
Yes.
You know, instead of processing those, why do you feel the way you feel? Why
Yes.
are you this or that? You know, at the time, like this was a few years back, but at the time, I still harbored unhealed resentment toward my mother-in-law from secondhand stories I had received from my husband about how his childhood was. So, so I didn't even realize that I would get triggered by her asking for help, because I'm like, you don't deserve help.
Yes.
And it was the truth. You know, I didn't even realize it. And so things like that, but things like that would send me into a spiral of, now I'm not going to even talk about it because I don't want to argue with my husband. So I'll just go watch Hulu or watch Netflix.
Yes. And see,
we don't even
that you want to protect your husband and you want to love him, right? And so he told you about what he went through as confiding in you with his wife, but you couldn't separate that he was just confiding in you and that you didn't need to harbor any feelings because he dealt with it all. Do you? Oh, girl, that's a whole nother week. Your enemy is not my
so
enemy.
our time is almost up now. So before we leave, can you give the ladies some tools and strategies, right? Because one of the things that Coach Tiffany was talking about is just dealing with those negative emotions, right? And processing them in a more healthy way and not an unhealthy way. So can each of you give at least 2 or 3 tools or strategies to help them move forward, right? In processing negative emotions that has to deal with people pleasing and saying no.
You can go, Tiff, and then I'll go. You go.
Okay. So I would say one of the first things that I would do is first say no. First, you have to say no. Like, you know, it's okay to talk about this all day, but if you're still not at a place where you're willing to say no, then we still have to get you to that point first. You know, practice saying no. Even if you really can do it, sometimes you can help and sometimes you have the time, but just make it a practice to say no. If you, and not, again, not to be mean or malicious or anything like that, but just to teach yourself, train your brain, train your heart to know that the world isn't going to fall apart if you don't carry it.
Yes.
You know, that's really one of the biggest things for me is learning that I can't carry everyone and everything. So practice saying no. Practice saying no. And I guess another one would be if the person asks you something or not everything is a question. Not everything is, you know, we're not always people pleasing because someone asks us to do something and we say yes or no. Sometimes people pleasing is in the form of our actions not being true to ourselves.
Yes.
Okay. So it may not even be, you know, your boyfriend asked you to do something and you were afraid to say no. It could be on a daily basis. You are living and walking in a false identity in order to keep people from seeing who you really are, or from knowing you again, like I said earlier, I have to know who I am in order to not feel guilty about this. You know, you have to learn your identity. That's what it's going to be. That's my number 2 tip. Learn who you are. Learn who you were created to be. Be empowered in who you are so that you can overcome the guilt. You can overcome the potential negative responses, and so that you don't have to walk in this false identity or this fake life trying to keep people accepting you.
Yes.
When you're really just afraid of rejection and afraid of abandonment.
Yes.
One, I'm just going to say this from a biblical standpoint. You are accepted in the beloved. Okay? You are accepted in Christ, period. So it don't matter who don't like you.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, he said if the world hates you, it's because they hated him first. So let them hate.
Come on.
Like, it's okay. It is okay to release people who are not meant to be there. Do not suffer anyone else's toxic, unhealed issues because you are afraid to lose them. Get healed. Get some therapy. Follow the 3 of us because we all deal with this stuff.
Come on.
And I'm going to leave it there because, you know, I can go all day. Just follow us because we'll talk about it more.
You know what? I'll say this. One of the things Tiff hit on is the conference that I'll be having in August. It's Face Off, you know, walking in who you are, being your authentic self. And one of the things is about people pleasing is wearing faces. You are so right. Like, I would say she's right. Be you.
Yeah.
See, you know you. If you can't say no if you don't even know why you're saying no. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? You don't even know what about the no makes you uncomfortable. Learn you. Once
Yep.
you learn and you start to heal, because healing is everlasting. Like she said, you can have, she's healed, but she got triggers. You know what I'm saying? It is a walk that we constantly take every single day. But if you make a conscious effort to show up for you, when you already showing up for you, there's no reason for you to please nobody else, because you're already focused on pleasing you. Realize that your happiness comes from within. And when it comes to these kids, teach them my no means no.
Yep.
The biggest people that we please, I'm sorry, is our kids. We want to give our kids what we didn't have. And instead of giving them what we didn't have, won't we teach them how to go out and get it? You know, instead of buying and gifting and not telling these kids no, we create a bunch of little people that grow up to big people who don't expect you to tell them no. I tell my kids all the time, my no means what? If you can tell me no means no when it comes to date rape, I can tell my kids no means no. Period. Yeah. My no means no. I have a friend that told her 2-year-old, he's 3 now, my no is sufficient. She tells him, and he walks off.
Well,
one of the last things that I'm going to say before we leave is, one of the things that I do is I always take time at the beginning of the day to set my day and set my intention for the day. So I always start out with meditation, right? And that's really going within, right? And that's taking my time for me, right?
Yes.
And saying, you know, this is my time for me. And then I begin with prayer and a workout. So set the intentions at the beginning of your day, right? That you're going to have a good day, even if you have to tell somebody no.
Yes.
It's okay.
They'll be okay.
Everything is going to be okay. And at the end of the day, just like Coach Tiffany was saying, we already align with the source. We align with God, right? And he is who we really need to be aligned with and connected with. And then building relationship with other human beings, it comes easier. So I want to thank both of you for coming on today. Coach Tiffany, do you have something else to say before you leave?
I just wanted to add with what Coach TaShemia said, because my kids know that my no means no, but I also leave room for them to say no.
Yes.
Because we can't teach our kids about our own personal boundaries without teaching them how to set their own.
Healthy.
You know?
Yes.
And my husband wasn't too keen on that at first. He's like, what do you mean they can say no? I said, they're allowed to disagree with us because they're humans. And if we teach them that they can't disagree, and if we teach them that they can't say, you know, I really don't want to do that, then what are we teaching them?
Yes.
So anyway, I just wanted to throw that little bit in and just add with what, you know, I was going to add with what you just said too, where if your vertical relationship is good, the horizontal ones are too. So
exactly. And this is a book, guys. I didn't write this book. None of us wrote this book, but it's called Boundaries.
It's a great book.
No. Yes. This book really changed my life. Yes. It's called Boundaries, when to say yes and when to say no, how to take control of your life in every area of your life. Yes. This book changed my life.
Yes, seriously. It's a great book.
So yeah, get boundaries. So all right,
hi real quick to guys later. Hi T, thank you for coming every week and watching. That's my auntie. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you everybody for watching us. We really appreciate all you guys. Thank you.
Go read Tiffany's blog. Yes. Look out for her book that's coming out. And Coach TaShemia has a conference that's coming up in August. Yes. And I have a cocktail and conversation coming up next month. So look out for everybody's everything.
Yes.
And if you don't want to, it's okay to say no.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye.